Today I want to go over the issue of using, I'm using Family Search here, and I love Family Search, but sometimes you want to go to Ancestry and see if you can find a relative in Ancestry that you can't find so easily in Family Search, because they're different, and people on Ancestry often have their own genealogies set up there, so you can go in and sometimes better find somebody who's done some work and be able to look at what they've done and compare it to what you're doing to try to get a better idea of how to put things together. So I have this Marguerite Leblanc, and if you click here, you can view your relationship. This is my wife here, so if you want, you can go up down here. So she's not super closely related, but anyway, this is Marguerite Leblanc, and she could easily be related to my wife, because uh, Leblanc is a very common name in the relatives of my wife. But I have to find out if he is for sure, this Joseph O'Coin. But so you can always check when you're looking at somebody. Oftentimes you don't even know how they're related to you, and as you're going along doing it, you can go view my relationship. Just because you don't find when you click on view my relationship, and sometimes it'll say no relationship found. That does not mean that there is no relationship. It just means that, for instance, let's say I've only done my family history back to this George Peters or Pete. If I've only come back to here and I haven't filled in this here, I wouldn't know that I was related to this Henry O'Coin. This is a lot of generations back. This is back into the early 1600s, mid 1600s, to be related. So it's, as it says here, this is the wife of my fourth cousin, 4 times removed. So it's not a close family relationship. But to find out if you're related to someone, of course, it all depends on how much work you have been able to do in finding your family lines. So if you've gone 4 generations, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then that's as far as you've gone, there's no way you would know that you're related to all these people over here, because until you fill in these people here, you're not going to get to where you find this relationship here, and they are able to come down sort of like another arm of your family relationships. So of course, like I said, they're not super close. They're fourth cousins and 4 times removed, but they are family, and you are able to find those family members. But today what I wanted to go through was, so I'm sitting here with Marguerite, and I don't see any hints here for more hints. I can use Family Search to try to look up some records for her. But I can also go through, you can use all of these. I tend to like using Ancestry, right? So I'll use Family Search and Ancestry for a lot of my work. So if I click through on Ancestry, which I've already done, this is the results that I get. And there's some good things to look at. Of course, all it says here is born in Nova Scotia, born 1846, and we don't have an exact date, but do have parents of Placide Leblanc and Agnes O'Coin. And just so realize that when you're looking at these things, and don't get thrown off by the names. I'll just put that in here. This O'Coin, a lot of times the family is called Wedge, even though that's the English name for O'Coin, right? Same as Leblanc is white. So just when you're looking at your research, remember that if especially into the 1900s, they started changing their names. A lot of the French people, especially if they moved to the U.S., started changing their names to anglicized versions. And that can really throw you, of course, because who would think O'Coin and Wedge are the same thing? So here's what we have. This is the information we had from over in Family Search, and we're trying to see if there's anything here. But when I did this search, I want to see, this brings up records from Ancestry, but I want to see what other people have done. So in order to do that, I go in here to edit search, right? And again, like I said, all we have is that Nova Scotia, British Colonial America, or just Nova Scotia, but we do have the parents' names. Now, when you first come on here, this is going to be checked like this. You're only seeing historical records. So if you want to see other people's work that they've done on Ancestry and look at their work and compare it to what you think is correct or what have you, then you need to click or check this box and then do search again. Then it still doesn't bring up any results for anyone else working on that person. The issue with Ancestry, and I don't, maybe at some point they will adjust this, but the issue is right here, okay? The filters. So this is on a broad search, and for me, what I do is all you have to do is take this, bring this over here, or just click on it. Bring these to much more. They don't have to be exact, but or similar, but bring them much more a higher filter rate, and then do an update that, and then voila, some names start appearing here of other people who have done. And that, if you don't do that, you won't find their family trees that other people have worked on a lot of the time. Sometimes it brings it up, but most of the time it does not until you change this filter right here. And so now these are the result. This is just one person's result, the Brennan family tree. But it says here, browse more like this. And even though I see that this is probably accurate because there's the same LeBlanc and the same Aucoin here, and I see it in Inverness, so it could be because it's Nova Scotia. But I like to use this, and I could click right directly on this, and that'll take me right to their tree. But there's going to be more than just this one family who have worked on this Marguerite LeBlanc. So when I go browse more like this, that's going to bring up, you'll see that there's 25 people who have worked on this person, Marguerite LeBlanc. There's 25 trees that I can look at. And just because the first one that comes up is this Brennan does not mean that they have the best overall information with the best resources and the best tie-ins to make sure that that is correct. But so you can just click on view all, and then you can see all the different trees of people who have worked on that line. And of course you're looking to see this Placide and Marguerite Aucoin, okay? And this Marguerite LeBlanc, who was born in 1889 in Inverness, Nova Scotia, and her spouse being Joseph Henry Aucoin. And then you look down here and just look at some of the other trees. You see this person here, they don't have the parents, they just have a marriage. And this one again just has a marriage, whereas this one has parents, and the dates are they've got dates here. Sometimes you'll see that it just has the mother and the father, their names, but no dates. And that doesn't mean it's not bad or anything, but when someone has put a date in, then there's probably a reason they've gone with that date. Like here, the father has no date, but the mother does, right? And that doesn't mean that they're accurate, doesn't mean that they're right. But if you look at this, there's going to be a lot less information on this sheet because they don't have any dates or location of where these people are from. Versus this one where they have the father and the mother, but this one is not publicly available. So you really can't use theirs. So you'll go back up here, and we will go with this Brennan family and take a look at what they have. And so by clicking on this, it'll take me to that person's sheet. So remember, in Ancestry and Family Search are very different. Family Search is one big tree for everybody working from all over the world on one tree. Whereas on Ancestry, people have their own trees and only they can edit their own trees. And so you need to look at different people's work because each person's work is not, oftentimes they do copy from one another, but there is differences between each of these sheets, as I was just explaining. So then I look and I try to find out if this Joseph Henry Aucoin and this, if there's any information on him, because if we go back to the original on Family Search, Joseph Henry Aucoin shows up here, but this Joseph Henry Aucoin says he was born 4th of May 1850 and Egmont Bay in Prince Edward Island. Whereas this Joseph Henry Aucoin has a birth date of the 6th of June 1886 in Grand Natang, Inverness County. and married to this Marguerite Leblanc. So then when you go back to this record here, you have to go, okay, I don't get why in those days, this is back in the 1800s, mid 1800s, they did not move all that much. They didn't change locations that much. So even if I'm looking at a Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island here in Canada, but if you were looking at Maine or you're looking at Louisiana, for instance, in Maine, and you saw someone from Maine married in Louisiana in the 1800s, you'd have to go like, I really have to research this, because people tended to marry within 15, 20 miles of where they lived. And so yes, people may have come from Scotland or Ireland or Germany, have come over to the US and emigrated, but once they arrived in the US, a lot of them tended to live and marry and die within the same area where they were living. They didn't tend to move all that much. Now, of course, as we get into the 1900s, the mid 1800s into the 1900s, there starts to be more movement of people. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your family history, that when you run into this issue, like where one fellow is born and is in Egmont Bay and the other one showing a record, and then this other person has this this date that's, do I say that this is right? Now, where did they come up with these names? And I have to really check this out, because when I look at this Joseph Henry O'Coin over here, their dates are 1844 and 1845, and her date is 1889. And this Marguerite's date is 1846. But yes, with these same parents. So something is wrong here, or there's something I really need to look into, because either this Placide and Agnes are wrong in their dates, because they're not giving, as you can see, there's not, they're just guess. There's no record there. There's no proof that those dates are right, or that they were, or it doesn't even say where they were from. So in order to find more out about this Marguerite Leblanc, then for me, the way I would handle this is, first I've got to go and make sure this Joseph O'Coin is the right person married to this Marguerite Leblanc. And it happens that other people, since on Family Search, everybody is doing the work, you can get to where it can get quite confusing and there can be some errors. Another way to handle looking at this and checking out is, I can take this, say that's Gabriel O'Coin, right? He's born here in Granitang Inverness. So it seems that these three are related for sure to this Marguerite, who, if they're from Inverness. But to make sure that this marriage and these kids being attached to this father is correct, I've got to find out what are the records that show that this Marguerite married this Joseph O'Coin, who was from Prince Edward Island. And so I'm going to go into her records and see, what are people's reasons for giving that. So all I have to do is just go into edit and see what the records are that they have for this Marguerite O'Coin. Okay, and so they have a census record here. I could look at that and see, because on a census it will say, yeah, she's in Cheticamp. That's where this census was taken in 1881. Okay, fair enough. Birth date, 1847. Birthplace, Nova Scotia. Okay, that makes sense. So far, I don't see any sign of PEI. So now I've got to look at, that was the wife, and now we'll look at the husband on the census record. And it says for this fellow that he was of course, he was born in Nova Scotia. Well, the problem with that, if he was born in Nova Scotia, then when we go back to this record, this Joseph Henry O'Coin we have as being born in Prince Edward Island. So my suspicions now are you start to get this suspicion that they may have the wrong Joseph Henry O'Coin as husband attached to the wrong. The Marguerite's fine, right? But this O'Coin is from Prince Edward Island. They're his parents. That's pretty straightforward. But it's looking to me like there could have been he was married to a Marguerite Leblanc, but it wasn't this Marguerite Leblanc. It's looking dubious to me that these, because this set the record, the census says this, that the fellow Aucoin was born in Inverness, and that Marguerite was born in Inverness, which would make sense since they don't move. As I said, they didn't move around a lot in those days. But to be sure, I'd do a little bit more checking. But just I bring this up so that as you are doing your family history and you're using the Ancestry, which is really good because we go back here and, like I said, we look at this Joseph Henry Aucoin, and it actually had, but this birth date here of this general, Joseph Henry Aucoin, and this Marguerite, they're not even the same. That can't even work, right? I mean, this Marguerite, I just want to go to her record. So for Marguerite, with her parents, Placide and Agnes, and I can go over here and go to this Marguerite on their record, and that's right, Placide and Agnes. And the dates work for 1889, being the parents being in the 60s, 1860s, and here's the husband, and that's fine. But the issue you run into is the date, the names match, but we're probably not even looking at the right person so I'm not going to go further with that. But the reason I was trying to bring this up to you is that looking at these trees, these family trees that people have in Ancestry, really can give you a real heads up in terms of where to go with, how do they arrive at these. Because like if I go back here and I could look at another one if I wanted to, this is the Brennan line I was just looking at. I could also look at this Perry Brown research tree. But really, I already know that it's the same birth and the same marriage, okay? And so it's probably not the right person, right? But it's brought up a Marguerite with the right Aucoin and the right Patrice. But I'll leave it there for this video. I'm going to come back and do some more on this issue as I see more of these things that I can try to help you. Just realize that it is a work of art finding these things out. But just because someone has put in this information, you have to go in and make sure that that information is valid, that her parents really were these people, and that these kids and this Marguerite were the right Marguerite attached to this Joseph Henry Aucoin. And that it's just a lot. It's just, I mean, I love it. I love the genealogy stuff and the family history, but you have some of these get to be difficult. Some of them are super obvious, and you'll have no problem putting them together, but some of them aren't so easy. And we could also do, maybe I will before I finish this video, you could also go and do an ancestry search with this Aucoin with his parents. Now, we see the baptism, 4th of May, 1850. Okay, so and there's the parents. So at least there's the baptism record for Prince Edward Island. But the issue is, who did he marry? And we need more information on that. So again, move these over here. So I'm going to do that over again. So first I'm going to go I'll do it this way just so it's easier to look at. I'll go in here and I'll do a search. But I want to refine these so I can get some results. Okay, so here we have Aucoin Lupin's family tree. I can do more browse like this. So I'm now remember that I just moved over to Ancestry. And there's 121 trees with this Joseph Henry Aucoin married to Marguerite Leblanc. Okay, now the dates are better here because we're in the 1840s, which more matches what we should have. Again, you can do view all. Let's just go with this first tree here again. Now again, we are over in Cheticamp and Grand Etang, okay? And that doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean there's an issue. Again, here's Marguerite. and here are the parents. Now, the parents on family search show as Joseph Jean Aucoin and Henriette Petrie, or Pete. Now, with this family here, you notice that it's a Gallant and no coin. So that isn't working. So let's go back over here to the result page. Let me just close some of those down. Okay, so again, this is a Shedicamp. So that didn't work, right? So there's 121 trees there, so that, let's say that that isn't correct. Because if you remember, if we keep going back here, we'll be able to see the original Joseph Aucoin with a mother, Henriette Beat, and Joseph Aucoin, the father. But in the search results, we're bringing up Shedicamp people. So let's see what else because the first set of results, as we just saw, were Shedicamp. So they aren't going to be the right family, even though the dates were accurate. They weren't born in the right place. So we're looking along here. We need to find someone born in Prince Edward Island. And aha, see the third one down? 1, 2, 3. So the first two results weren't accurate, but the third one, this is looking better, right? Because we here have a Joseph Wedge, or Aucoin, as I mentioned earlier, and we have a Henriette Pete, or Peters, and married to a Magdalene Gallant. Okay, and so now here they have the spouse being a Marguerite Leblanc. So again, I have to question that. I want to look and see what these people here have, because they do have the right individual by his birth date and Prince Edward Island, and that these are the right parents. So I'm very sure that I'm now into, more golden water. I'm actually, getting closer to finding out what I need to know about this family. So I'll look at the Wedge family tree, which is really the Aucoin family tree, okay? Because they go by, this person, Mega Wedge, goes by that name Wedge, but really she's an Aucoin. And so here's the work that she has, married to a Madeleine Gallant, and then who died in 1881, and then married to a Sarah Waite. Okay, so I'm not going to look at that right now, but I do want to look and see if this is the same Joseph Wedge, or Aucoin, born 1790, Rustico, marriage 1815. So I can go back here and look at these folks here and go, okay, again, we're coming up with some issues, right? Because they've got a marriage date of 1815. She was married twice. He was married twice. I made a mistake. So here's the marriage, 1836. It doesn't have anything more than that. This person was married twice, and that caught me there. So he first married Scholastique, or Christine, or Christie is what that Scholastique is, Poirier. And then he married again to a Henriette Pete. Okay, and so then we can find the person that we were looking for, right? Which was the Joseph here, and we can say, okay, looking at his parents, we got Henriette Pete and Joseph Wedge, or Joseph Aucoin, and then look at their dates, right? Now they have a different date, this Henriette Pete, but again, look at, just because it says 1814 doesn't mean she was born in 1814. That's just a guess, and this, a lot of people sometimes put in these guesses too. I mean, they've got a death range from 1846 to 1909, which is useless. When I see these, I take them out, because that, you need a death date that's an accurate, at least within a year or two, but just putting down a range from 50 or 60 years doesn't really help finding anybody. So this about just means they don't have a date. So if we can find the actual date for Henriette Petrie, or they have Petrie, and really is it Peters, or Pitre instead of Petrie. So I'm going to say it's probably fairly accurate, but let's look at his parents, John, Charles, and Rosalie Bernard, and come over here and see what his parents' names were. Yeah, Rosalie Bernard and Jean-Jacques Aucoin. So you can see that we're probably working with the same, it is the same people. It's just a matter of finding out, you know, is it accurate? Here's the first marriage to Scholastique Poirier, and here's the second marriage to this Henriette Petrie. That is wrong. There's no Petries in PEI at the time. It's Pitre or Peters, which is the English sized. So I would go ahead and change that. And then I'll find out a little bit more about this Henriette and find out. Now remember on this research by Mega Wedge, she shows the dates of birth, as 1789. Now, do I know if that's accurate or not? I don't know. She just has about as well. So she could be right, but it could also be the 1814 date. So I'd have to do more looking to find out about that. But what we can do here is look at another. So when you're looking at these people's trees, remember they're all doing their own work, right? And so some are different. So here, she has Joseph Wedge as being 1790. This one has 1795. This one has Henriette at 1789, and this one has born 1819. So they're two different people's work. Doesn't mean one's right or one's wrong, but I do want to look at this one because their dates are different here. If somebody came along and copied some of this person's work, the dates everything would be identical. But the fact that they've got that second wife here, and that makes me want to look at this. So I'll take a look at this person's work. You see they have the right spelling of the name, Pitre, and here's the first wife, and here's the second wife, and here's Joseph Aucoin. But we don't have our Magdalene Gallant. So we have this Joseph Aucoin that we were looking for at 4th of May 1850, which is the same as we had here. I just want to go back and show you that. Where's Joseph? 4th of May 1850. So we are looking at the same dates, right? Here they have a death date, 1928. Here they do not have a death date, so that I would check that death date, make sure it's accurate, and then add it in there. And chances are this is pretty accurate because they've got family history pictures there. I like when people have pictures in their, because then I know they've actually spent time and they care about their work. I'd like to see more sources here. The only source they have is that same, Island Index baptismal record. But we would find some Joseph Aucoin census records, and they should be included on this person's work, but they haven't. But so those are the things you go through. It is a bit of a detective work. Nothing generally. I mean, sometimes things are perfect that they all match out very easily. Other times you've got to really do some looking and see what's going on there. But in my estimation, the more I look at this, it looks to me like whoever attached this Marguerite Leblanc to this Joseph Henry Aucoin got confused between another fellow with the same name, Geoffrey Henry Aucoin, in Nova Scotia, in Inverness, who actually did marry this Marguerite and did have these children. But the issue is, if you get the wrong Henry, the wrong person married, then you're going to really mess up your family history, of course. So in the end, I would have to come in here. Once I do a little more work on this, I'd come in here, I'd click on this, and you'd have to remove her and probably these kids. Now, if you just want to remove the wife, right, she's wrong. Let's say she's wrong and all the kids are right. Let's say all these kids were born in PEI. The wife is from over in Nova Scotia, and you know that isn't working, and these kids don't have this person as a wife, or it's the wrong person. Okay, then you by clicking, if I go in here, I'm on, you can see by being in dark, I'm actually on Joseph Aucoin's record. So if I click on here and I go remove, and I remove this person, it'll ask me to remove or replace, and if I have the person's name, record number or name, I can replace them, or I can just leave it blank and come in and do it afterwards, after the fact. But when I do this, it's going to take her out of this family, and it's going to leave these kids all attached to him only and not to her. But when I look at this person, all these people were born over in Inverness, which to me means it's the father that is wrong and not the mother. So by clicking on the mother and making her the person I'm looking at, when I go to remove her, or sorry, remove the father, okay, and put in the proper father that should be in here with the proper parents, right? So then I would click on here, and you see she's highlighted here. But then if I go remove here and follow through and do it, she will remain with these kids, because that makes sense. Once I've checked and made sure that she does belong to these children, it's just that the husband is wrong. I can remove him by just clicking here and removing him, and this will leave a blank here. I can go and find the information either on Family Search or on the Ancestry, and then put that information in, get their marriage records together, add the other children, because there are other children I remember seeing when I was looking at the records. There's probably another 5, 6 kids here that need to be added in with the proper Joseph Henry O'Coin. So remember that as you do these things, it's nothing is easy, but don't get scared. You can always put them back together. If you take someone apart, there's always a way up in here of you can go back and look at whatever you've done, and you can put them back the way they were. But generally speaking, you'll start to see that things are just not clicking with the way things are, and you need to make a change. So just be bold, make the change, put your reasons there of why, put the right person in where they should be, fill in the family, and then you've got that part of your family all put together the way they should be. And in reality, it's going to help someone else out later on, because once you put in the proper Joseph Henry O'Coin, or that goes with this Marguerite, then that frees up 2 families to be correct. First off, you're now going to have Joseph Henry O'Coin, and you can put him with his proper wives and the family in PEI, and then at the same time, you can put Marguerite with the proper Joseph Henry O'Coin, and get his other children and get his parent. So you're allowing people to, when you fix it for your family, you're also fixing it for the other family as well, and getting rid of a confusing piece. These things happen. It's not anyone's fault. No one was trying to do something wrong on purpose. They're just doing the best they can. But the best thing to do as you're doing these is, I like using what other people have. And like I said, there wasn't much proof here, but sometimes you'll have 10 or 15 records that the person has attached to this Joseph O'Coin. And you can then you look at those records yourself, or go find them again on Family Search or an Ancestry. But then you can then be sure that you've got it right, make the change, and move on. So I hope this will help you to know it is a fantastic tool to work between these 2 programs, the Family Search and the Ancestry.com. And both have their strengths. In some ways, both have their weaknesses. I tend to like to do my work on the Family Search, and use the Ancestry as my backup. And you can always take your names and move them, and take things from Family Search and make yourself a record on Ancestry if that's what you'd like, so you can keep your records there as well. But anyway, hope this helps, and hope you can really just don't forget those couple little points on how to change the filters so that you can have success in finding your family and people that are working on the same names. Because if you find people working on the same names, you can contact them and see and say hello, especially if they're closely related. And so great. Hope that helped. Take care, and thanks for listening.